Hey guys, welcome back to Vince-Vell Custom. So today I'm sharing with you a Racheal Gray Phoenix 2 Hound Custom Statue made from the Sideshow Collectibles Premium Format Catwoman. Now, some of you guys who are new to the hobby or new to statues or comic books, you might not know who this character is or what she's about. I suggest you go up and read her on Wikipedia, grab some old school comics of her, and it's a really great character, great storylines with her. And I know a lot of the old school guys know exactly who she is, and she does have a following. She is fairly popular, and I always did like her growing up when I was reading comics, and I always wanted to see her in, the 1/4 scale line, like just like at least one statue. It's kind of like my bucket list character. I have a couple of them, and this was one of them I always really wanted to do, and you can pretty much see how she came out. Now, just a quick history. Back when I started, collecting statues, and I was getting into the hobby of painting like kits, somebody did do a bust of her, probably in a Bowen scale. It's kind of like from the waist up, and her hands are forward, and she's holding a phoenix bird in her hair, like the clear fire I have on her. You can probably find a picture of her in my webpage. Very in the old, like I probably check around like 2005, 2006 era. I know I have a picture up of her there. It's a really old crappy pic, but it was a very popular bust at the time, and I think people are still actually looking for a copy here and there. I've seen a couple of people on the, different very garage kit sites I belong to where, somebody's filling up their X-Men collection and they're looking for one of these old busts to kind of fill in. So this is something I just really wanted to do, so we could kind of break down everything. Really great character. Had a lot of fun making this one. I also did a work in progress series on how I did the red. I also did another work in progress series on how I got the hands attached with magnets and rods. So I'll link those in the description. You can check those out. We can kind of break down all three, everything I did on the statue. Give you guys a step by step. I'll explain some of the spikes too as well. But really great. I can mark this off my bucket list. It's just one of these characters that I think is really cool. And if you're, if you got a good X-Men collection, this is kind of one of those characters you could kind of throw in there. I know she's probably early, probably like the 80s outfit, maybe with the earlier 90s, but still a really great character and really cool outfit to see done. So let's get a little bit closer. We'll break it all down. And let's see what we got. All right, so as far as the base, I needed a wider base because the problem with this base is this base she came with is, the Catwoman on the building type base, and I needed something that's smaller and that could kind of fit the character a little better. But the only problem is her legs are so wide that you need something at least 10 inches wide type thing. So I have one of the Home Depot buckets, those 5-gallon buckets. You could get at Home Depot, and I was using that when I was doing my floor. So what I did was I sprayed it with mold release inside the bucket, and I poured in resin with filler pieces of resin to really get myself the thickness and make a generic base. But it was really messy. It was all warped and stuff, so I sanded it all down. I evened it out, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to sculpt onto it and make it like her, Phoenix, her powers are coming up, or she just got done doing something, and she's just like, the ground is all messed up underneath of her. So I thought this would kind of work, especially what I've done with my other Phoenixes in the past. I said, since Racheal's kind of like the, Summer's family, it's kind of like I got to keep it uniform type thing. So after I did all the sculpting and everything, I added these little flame pieces. Now you can get these off of eBay. A friend of mine mentioned these to me, and other people have been actually finding these and been telling me about them as well. So these are really great. You can use these for anything. You could just buy the kit, and you could put flames on the bases. You can add them to statues. So I didn't actually glue them onto the base. I left them there because you can take them on and off, and then they have like yellows and purples, and they have all these different color ones. So it works out pretty cool. So they come in and out, and you can do whatever. So I did attach them to the hands, and like I said, I did do a video on the hands. But it works out pretty cool because after I painted the hand and it was all done, I glued them in. Alright, so simpler. And I added some red A's in there to kind of secure it, and I touched it up a little bit. So it works out pretty cool, like, her hands got some flames to them and everything. So I was going to sculpt flames in the beginning, but I figured, if I sculpt it, then I paint it and it's chrome. The body's kind of chromed out, the base is shiny, so I needed some kind of a translucent resin on there to kind of bring it together, and that worked out pretty cool. So as far as her boots, I know the old school outfit doesn't have heels and it doesn't have boots like this, so I kind of wanted to do my own little take on it. So I figured it would be kind of cool to have like that latex outfit, but you know, you got these leather boots going, and it kind of just brings it a little bit together and just kind of has a little bit more life to her. So I went on Google, I was searching for boots, and you know, I came across these brown leather boots that had the zipper on the side, so I figured that would look pretty cool on her, so that's kind of what I followed with the boots. And then, you know, I sculpted wrinkles on her body here and there. Now, the old school outfit has a few little wrinkles, but not much, and I wanted to keep it true as to the old outfit as much as possible without changing it too much. So that's kind of what I did. And then you can see the flames over here as well. And then we'll go on to the face, and then we'll go on to the spikes, because the spikes are a little bit more complex. So, you know, I did ultrafine transfer yellow eyes on her. I gave her some really nice, sexy, deep skin, you know, tones. I just wanted to give her I just wanted to keep it to like that hound look, you know, of the old school, and just kind of bring my own thing. So after I took down the Catwoman ears and you know, all that stuff, I sculpted the hair. I really wanted to keep that hair true to her old look. I looked on DeviantArt. I found some really cool old Racheal Gray drawings and stuff, so I saw how people did those types of hairs, and I was like, yeah, this would kind of work for her. Now, her black lines on her face, I actually sculpted all those lines because I figured it'd be easier to give myself a little bit of a sculpted line and make them all even, and then try to paint it and then airbrush over it and paint it and mess up. I kind of have lines going, so that's what I did. And then that's pretty much the face and the hair and stuff. And then for her ponytail, that was a little bit complex. I'm like, the old school way was the ponytail came down here or flew in the back, and I figured if I was going to sculpt this ponytail onto this head, it'll probably would break and snap all the time, because this head comes in and out, is magnetized, and I figured it'll be just too difficult to have that ponytail with connected to the head and it breaking and stuff, and especially if I kept it on here and I had it flow, it would probably break anyway. So I found one DeviantArt pic where it was kind of cool. They did actually have the head on her twisted, but it came over the edge like that, and I said that would be perfect, and I'm going to kind of follow that little drawing. So that's what I did with the ponytail there, and it worked out pretty good, you know. So now onto the spikes. The spikes were a little bit difficult. If you go on eBay and you type in spikes, I'm finding railroad spikes, I'm finding, you know, all these different types of spikes. And then, you know, when you type in 1/6 scale spikes or small spikes, I'm finding those, like, you know, black leather bracelet spikes or collar spikes, or, you know, you put on denim jackets or your shoes. They're way too big and they're too wide and they don't work. So after doing more and more searching, I came across spikes that you use for like belly buttons or ear piercings or no piercings or just piercings wherever you want to put them. And I kind of break them down on how these worked out. So what I did was I found the spikes, and I ordered a couple of them, and I found that they were in scale, but the only problem is they don't have those rods on the piece. So I was like, how am I going to attach these, you know, pieces onto there? Because what I came across was if you get a big rod like that, you know, for the spike that you screw in, you know, you're spending like, you know, crazy amounts of money just for one rod. So what I did is I found somebody selling these rods that you put a spike there and a spike there, and these you could get like 50 of these for like $2-3. So I bought a bunch of them. So what I did was I put a dab of glue on the end, and I screwed in a spike there, and I put a dab of glue there, and I screwed in a spike there, and then what I did is I cut the rod. So now I had a perfect spike with a piece, as you can see, and I was able to drill my holes into the statue, and then I was able to just put a dab of glue and glue them in. So the spike is glued and twisted onto the rod just like a screw, and then it's glued and it's in the hole on each statue. So now I don't have to worry about them popping off or how was I going to get it all. So they're in the statue now. So these up here are in pretty far. Those around the body are in pretty far. But the only ones that are very, very small length is around the neck piece, because if it was too long it would hit the head. So I had to kind of just fudge it a little bit and everything, but that worked out pretty good. So that's kind of what I came up with the spikes. So if you're ever working on an item, just some old earring spikes that you get off of eBay, you know, I guess they're sterling silver or whatever they are, worked out pretty cool. So that is Racheal Gray, Phoenix 2 Hound. Hopefully you guys like the way she came out. I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot with this one too, especially with the clear resin and the spikes. I think that was a really good learning curve for me now. So that opens up more possibilities if I need to do spikes on other characters or whatever. But came out pretty cool. So I had a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys like the way she came out. If you guys are a fan of this character and you do know her, let me know what you think of it. I think she would look pretty cool if anyone else has, like a bunch of the old 90s X-Men statues from Sideshow, and she's up there next to them would be pretty cool. So she'll be up for grabs on my website as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and the little tips and tricks on her. And thanks for watching, and we'll be back with some more videos.